Hello there, my name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing a wrap-up of February, all the books that I read in February. Just as a reminder, the monthly mood was romance and ruckus. So I pretty much followed that mood to the T. I read a total of 6 books. It's not the best. I'm not really proud of this. This is not my favorite month. It's not my favorite month of reading, but it happened and I did it. So I read 3 romance and 3 middle grade. Ruckus. We did some ruckus. It was fine. All right. So we're going to talk about the books that I read in order in the order that I read them, so that way you can follow me on that reading journey. You know, I keep saying it's a bad reading month, but all this month really taught me, last month, all February really taught me is that I really want to read more, and I want that number of pages to be high, so high. The first 2 books that I read this month were part of a reading vlog. So first I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I gave this book a 4-star. It was absolutely stunning. All right, let's talk about this. So I haven't read romance, not like a straight romance. I keep saying a straight romance, and I don't want people to think that I'm talking about the sexual orientation of straight and a romance. What I'm talking about is it's not simply a romance where there's nothing else going on. I'll read fantasy stories or sci-fi stories that also have a romantic aspect happening, but I don't read books that are solely a romance. I should start saying solely instead of straight. Let's figure out some better uses of words, okay? Okay. So, Get a Life, Chloe Brown is the first romance that I have read even for just the purpose of reading romance. This is really my first sole romance, okay? And I truly adored it. I really did. I feel like a lot of my apprehension from reading romance comes from not believing the cheese, right? So with any romance, you're gonna get some aspect of cheesiness, some aspect of them being, I don't know, set up into this weird situation where they have to do these things in order for plot, basically. But I didn't feel like the cheese in this was too strange. So we have Chloe, who is a chronically ill black woman. We love it. She is an entrepreneur. She owns her own business. She's in marketing. She is a strong woman, but she also has chronic pain. And so that has led her to lead kind of a life of solitude and I guess slower paced when she has a near-death experience, and she realizes that if she died right then and there, what would people say about her life? What did she do, and is she happy with that? And now, as someone who loves to live in the slow lane and loves to just, my perfect moment of happiness is sitting, listening to the birds in a patch of sunlight with some tea. That's me. I'm the slow lane. I'm slow lane all the time. But I really appreciated that this book and Talia Hibbert's writing never once made me feel like Chloe's ambition to find a different life or change her lifestyle was saying anything about living a slower life or even taking time to slow down in her life, because she is chronically ill. So trying to change her entire life is just not feasible for her either. Why are you crying? I'm in here. I also liked Red, and I liked the fact that he felt like a fully formed person. He had his own likes, his own dislikes, his own baggage. He had issues that he was coming into this relationship with. He knew what kind of person he wanted to be and how he was changing, and I love that when he realized he was getting overwhelmed, he immediately turned to therapy and was like, I need help. That is the sexiest trait I have ever seen written into a character human being. Are you freaking kidding me right now? He was like, I'm struggling. I need help. Therapy? A professional, please? Instead of turning to my best friend who's gonna give me crap advice anyway? Like, we love it. We love to see it. I also appreciated the fact that the other characters that we came into contact with, mainly Chloe's family and Red's friend, felt like real people as well. They didn't feel like, oh, we're just background characters and we aren't really thought about or developed. We're just this two-dimensional kind of person. They felt like they had their own background and everything else. Really liked it. Really enjoyed it. I'm a little nervous because it also gave me high standards because I loved the steam, I loved the relationship, I loved the writing. I didn't feel like it was too long or too short. I felt like it was perfect, but I also want more, which is why I'm glad that the Brown sisters and the other books are coming out, are out and coming out, which is exciting. Next, I read Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I gave this a 3-star. I also read this during the vlog with Get a Life Chloe Brown. However, I did not enjoy it as much as Chloe Brown. Not that I didn't enjoy the love interest here. Let's summarize, okay? So we have, what are these characters' names? Okay. The main male character's name is Marcus Castor Rupp. So his last name is a hyphenated name. So already I want to call him Castor Rump, right? Because Rupp, really? Castor Rupp? I don't like it. And then the female character will often say Marcus Castor hyphen Rupp. And when you read that out, there's too many hyphens. They hyphenate Castor hyphen, the word hyphen Rupp. And I can't handle that. It stresses me out. There's so much anxiety. I hate it. I hate it a lot. Small thing, very small irritation, but it happens frequently enough to where it was like, I hate this. Okay, so Marcus is our main man and April's our main lady. April is working in a professional scientific environment. However, she also writes fan fiction and cosplays. But because of her professional, because of her professional job, she has refused to fuse her professional and personal lives. So when she's finally able to blend her professional and personal lives because she gets a different job, she fully does it. She posts a picture of herself, who is more of a heavyset lady, cosplaying one of the characters from the Game of Thrones-esque TV show that's popular right now in this world, right? She gets a lot of hate for it because she is plus size. And so then Marcus, who is an actor, the main actor on that Game of Thrones-esque TV show, actually comments on her picture, stands up for her, and inevitably asks her out on a date to show people that, hey, you shouldn't judge people by the way that they look, especially not like that. So they go on a date, whatever. What they each don't know is that they have had an online relationship writing fan fiction and being beta testers for each other's fan fiction for years now. So already going into this book, I already know what the final conflict is going to be, right? So in a romance, I've come to understand that there's the conflict of them trying to get together, and then there's a final conflict at the end of the novel saying the final, like, why we can't be together, and then they have to overcome it, and then they get their happily ever after, or happily for now. So, going into this novel, I already knew what the final conflict was going to be. I didn't necessarily have too much of an issue knowing what the final conflict was going to be. I just knew it was not something that was going to be the intriguing part, right? So the intrigue is not coming from the final conflict. A lot of this felt like it was dragging, right? Like I was wasting a lot of time reading things, and it took me a little bit. It took me until like pretty much the whole end of the book to figure out where this book was dragging. And where it was dragging was every character that we came across either, just didn't like the Game of Thrones-esque TV show because it's a rip of the Aeneid, or they didn't like the Game of Thrones-esque television show because of the same reasons why we don't like the real Game of Thrones. Because the showrunners really ran that show into the ground. They didn't know how to write after the novels were finished. They did a lot of weird sex scenes and changed characters and motivation, and the final season was trash. Now, all of that is well and good. Fine. I didn't like the Game of Thrones showrunners or the final couple of seasons either. That's fine. And it's fine to also kind of lightly put it in your book and poke fun and tease and everything else. But it took so much time, so much of the book. I really felt like this book is at least 100 pages too long, and a lot of it comes from just that, of every character that we come across is somehow connected to this show, and they all have to talk crap about this show. And it's not just like, oh yeah, we don't like that show, so we're going to talk about instead our fix-it fan fiction. No, we don't like that show. So what we're going to talk about is all the reasons we don't like that show and how that's exactly like the real life you're living right now. So maybe that would have been one thing. Maybe this book still would have gotten 4 stars if Game of Thrones didn't exist in this world. But somehow it does. And that threw me, okay? It threw me. Because, you guys, there's no way on planet Earth that Game of Thrones exists. That would be like, right now, another show. Like, let's just say it. That's just like the show about a retelling of the Odyssey coming out, and it's so like Game of Thrones in every aspect of the fact that it was written by an author that is really well beloved, and then 2 showrunners came in who have the same initials, who also don't know how to write, who come in and ruin the show, and people not talking about how it's just like Game of Thrones. There's no way. There's no way. And for me, it's never been an issue in a contemporary book to not be completely engrossed in the story because, oh, it's contemporary. You're leaning on things that I know of. You know, people are going to the store, they're picking up a Starbucks, they're, you know, picking up their cell phone, they're writing fan fiction. I mean, but then you do things like that, and I'm just like, nope, no way. There's no way any of this happened. No way. None whatsoever. And I absolutely appreciate the fact that there's representation for plus size love. I also appreciate that Marcus's dyslexia is something that has him needing to overcome it, and that representation is nice and cute and sweet. This book is really white. For all it is representation, it is very white. Yeah, it was just long, and because I knew what the final conflict was going to be, I didn't necessarily care for the ending because I knew everyone was going to get over it anyway, and I saw the conflict coming, so I didn't really care about that. And then at the end, realizing that that actual Game of Thrones exists as well as their made-up TV show, it just became completely unbelievable for me, and a little bit of a waste because I really enjoyed the TV show that they were talking about, and then to realize that it very unbelievable. We'll leave it at that. 3 stars, unbelievable. Next, I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I gave this a 4-star. However, I want to touch on something, okay? So, this is a retelling of the Trojan War and of Achilles' life. So, Achilles had a friend named Patroclus in real life, and he's mentioned in the Iliad, and it's basically really just a retelling. This is told from Patroclus's point of view, and he is the bestest friend of ever. They're just 2 bestest friends, just guys being pals, right? Of Achilles. And it's them and their young life and them going to the Trojan War. And that's this novel. And that's the summary. Now, because it is a almost strict retelling, there are things and issues that I don't like to read about. And it's not Madeline Miller's fault, because Greek mythology is this way. Greek mythology is very sexist. Are we surprised? No, we're not. Even Greek heroes and Greek history, all of that is very sexist. So the issues I have with this book are no different than issues that I would have with any other historical fiction, being that I don't like that the female characters are relegated to roles of serving men. I don't like that there's so many slaves. I don't like that there's so much rape culture that is just, ignored. I don't like that. Because there's two bits, right? Because there's the bit when the two boys are turned 13 and they start talking about how they are slaves in the castle that they live in, and how both of the boys are told to make it happen, basically. And neither of them do, because they're struggling with their own sexual identity. And then, so that's an uncomfortable thing to read. And then there's also a long bit of them being in the Trojan War, and things about spear wives and taking the women from the lands that they pillage and raping them, fighting over them, making them seem as if they are objects and war spoils to be fought over. So that's super real, and I hate it. Not fun thing to read. And I don't want to make it seem like Patroclus and Achilles are like the gross ones in this novel, because they're not. And on top of that, they actually do things to save as many women basically as they can, especially in the Trojan War. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, knowing that those things are happening, reading about those things happen, do not make me feel comfortable, and do not make me want to keep reading. It's beautiful. It's great. This novel is really great in the sense that we are following two boys come to terms with who they are and falling in love with each other, and each other are two different people, right? And so it's this really nice and beautiful thing of seeing Patroclus, who is nothing like Achilles, and Achilles, who is nothing like Patroclus, and they both love each other, and they are both allowing each other to be the humans and the people that they each want to be, regardless of what that will mean for each other, right? So Patroclus, above anything else, wants Achilles to be with him. He wants to be with Achilles. He wants to live a simple life with Achilles. But that's not what Achilles wants. Achilles wants fame and power. Well, not really power. He really just wants fame. He wants to be a hero, and he wants to be remembered. And so the choices that Achilles makes are always in favor of him being a hero, of him being remembered, of him being great, right? So Achilles chooses his own greatness, and Patroclus chooses Achilles. And it's a beautiful and sad story. It's something that I think that I could ever be in Patroclus's place? No. But do I appreciate someone's commitment and love for somebody else to let them lead the life that they want to live? Of course, and obviously. And it was heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, and I really do love the way that Madeline Miller told the story. It's not like anything was graphic when she talked about the other girls or the situation that was happening, and it's not like she was overtly crude either. It's just my own issues about those things being in the story, or even story adjacent. I always go into books, when I see other booktubers having cried over a book, I'm like, ooh, maybe this book will make me cry. But I feel like maybe if I didn't know what happened in the Trojan War, maybe I would have cried. But it did make me sad. I definitely got misty-eyed at the end, and really, really what made me more sad than anything was the absolute end, right? Not the part everyone thinks you're gonna cry at, but the absolute end, the last page and a half, really is what made me cry. So I really did enjoy this book. It is something that, because of the strict retellingness, it is what makes me nervous about reading. I'm a little nervous to read Circe or Kirke because of how strict the retellings are, and I just need to be a little bit more emotionally strong to read more Madeline Miller, I think. So after Madeline Miller, I was planning on reading Circe or Kirke. Okay, here's the deal, you guys. I'm saying Circe. I think the original pronunciation is Kirke, so I'm probably gonna say Circe and Kirke all the time. Don't judge me. I'm doing it. After reading Song of Achilles, I wanted to read Kirke. However, I did not because of the strict retellingness of Song of Achilles, and I know Circe Kirke's story is a lot more sad than that. So, I made a compromise, and instead I picked up Percy Jackson, you guys, okay? Now let me tell you a thing. I needed love in February. I needed a giant freaking hug in February, and you know what? Uncle Rip gave it to me, okay? Okay. I read books 1, 2, and 3 in February. I'm reading 4 and 5 in March. Don't worry about it. Books 1 through 3, I gave them all 4 stars. Really, it was just nice to revisit a land and characters that I love. Overarching things. Do they hold up? So far, so good. I'm a little bit questioning some of the female characters' choices, mainly in book 3. I'm not gonna say who. Some of the females I feel like are overtly mean to Percy, and I feel like this is like a weird telling of like, Percy is so great, but all the girls don't like him, and I'm like, I don't know about that, fool, but okay. So not too bad, not too shabby. They do hold up, I would say. I've been on the hunt, I've been on the lookout. I know in the next Percy Jackson series, I know in Heroes of Olympus there's much more diversity in regards to people of color being the heroes. I was keeping an eye out for this. It doesn't really start to get diverse until like book 3, and only slightly, I would say. But I do think they are great. I do still think they hold up. I think that they are fun and adventurous and fast-paced. I have heard some people criticize the formulaic kind of aspect of the plot. That really isn't an issue for me. However, it is an aspect. So if formulaic plots aren't your deal, you probably won't enjoy this. But it is very fun. I think the reason why I like this formula is because it is leaning into Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, there's always a prophecy, and that prophecy drives the hero's life he drives his life. That's how it goes, right? So I'm not necessarily upset about the formulaic aspect of these books because they are using prophecy, which is heavy in Greek mythology anyway. So we had the lightning thief, the Sea of Monsters, and the Titan's Curse. I think so far my favorite is still book 3. Previously my favorite was book 3, and I think it still is. So pretty happy about that fact, actually. I did start Becoming by Michelle Obama this month, but because I didn't finish it this month, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll talk about it next month. So you already know March wrap-up, and in March I'm going to be reading 3 specific books, so you already know. You already have a head start. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. Until next time, you have a great day. Fill it with reading. Sip something warm or cold. You know, if that's your deal, have something nice. Make a little moment for yourself. Enjoy it. All right. I hope you had fun here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.